Hello friends, Bendy here, and today I will be talking about one of my favorite Fnaf games out of the entire series, Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Now, before we get started however, please note that the gameplay and the music that I use in this video is not mine, and I will leave it all in the description below so that you may check some of it out for yourselves. So, let's stop wasting time, and let's get started. The atmosphere of Fnaf 1 is something that took the game to new heights. Heights that most games can't replicate. From the setting, the audio, and the feeling of tension as you go through your shift just takes this game to lengths that no one thought imaginable. To the setting being a pizzeria that was inspired by Chuck E. Cheese, but with a dark twist. A place that was once a place where fantasy and fun came to life, but soon became an abandoned goldmine, the 80s and the 90s entertainment. To the audio giving a feeling of dread and tension as you survive to 6 a.m. The audio gives this feeling of someone or something haunting this place, as if someone is watching in the shadows, and they want out. The tension of you might not make it through the night, and all you can do is stay in one place to survive. The only thing that mattered was to check the cameras, check your doors, to not allow the animatronics to stuff you, and make sure you have enough power to survive the night. These factors all together is what made the game so much scarier than what it was, and it still holds up to this day. This game, for what it offered at the time, is what set the stage of what it was to be expected in the future for the games that came out after it was released. Even the lore set the stage for what it was to be expected for the games. To the lore being about an imposter who took 5 children's lives away, and now they are stuck to decay. The lore was so simple back then, but it set everything in place for what Scott was trying to make. So, piece of advice. If you say that Fnaf 1 is a basic choice, know that without this game, you will not be watching this video right now. Alright, on to the next one. The gameplay elements of Fnaf 1 is what set the stage of Fnaf, and what made this franchise become what we know of today. From the mechanics, the office, and the fact that you must be lucky enough to survive the night is what made the first game great. With the office, you had to get used to the change of view that the game had at the time. For most games at the time though, many games had made you look for objects to complete objectives to progress for whatever the game wanted you to do. And in those games, you had weapons that would help you defend against the enemy that was trying to kill you. This game, however, changed that mode. Instead of going towards your enemies, you had to stay put in your office and let them approach you, and repeat that cycle until 6 a.m. At the time, no other horror game had done that, and was the first to do so. Then, with the mechanics of the game, all we had to do is look through a small screen and check your cameras to survive, and to check your doors and close them to reset the animatronics and manage your power at the same time. With all of this in mind, however, this was a horror game that took skill and extreme luck to win. With the skill part, most of what you needed to do was now important as Freddy and his friends became more aggressive as you progressed through the week. Foxy and Freddy show this factor, as with Foxy, you have to check your camera very frequently as he would take more power as he would hit your door more. With Freddy, it was just a huge guessing game, as you had no way to defend yourself unless you closed your door and never opened it. That, however, would result in you losing more power than what you needed to use. With all this in mind, this is what made the franchise special. Each game built upon the last and added a new mechanic that would make that game more difficult than the last. Most games would just change everything to make something new. But Scott found a way to avoid this and thus make the series that we have today. So, with all this in mind, make sure to expect the unexpected with these games, as you never know what Fnaf, or I should say, Scott would bring to the table into his games. Now, next? At the era that this game was around, most games would put so much detail into their characters that most of the time, those designs were trying too hard to be hairy. Most of the time, developers would choose horrific creatures like demons or monsters or myths as their main source of villains in order for their game to be scary. The same can be said for their environment choices as well, as most would choose places like abandoned schools or hospitals or anything abandoned, or even dark forests for their environment. Scott, on the other hand, made characters and environments that were so simple and unique that they were just places that you can visit. The same can be said for the animatronics, as, well, they were just robot animals in a pizzeria. The fact of the matter is, it terrified us. In fact, it terrified us so much that even Scott himself was afraid. Think on that for a second. Your own creation giving you nightmares. You would never think that would ever happen to someone, and yet it did. Scott made characters that were so simple and unique that even himself was afraid of what he had created. Now, when it comes to characters themselves, it's the little things that make them scary. With Freddy, it's his laugh and his music box. With Foxy, it's him running down the hallway and randomly singing out of nowhere. And with Bonnie and Chica, it's their noises and their appearances at the door that make them scary. I would talk about Golden Freddy, but he's very rare to get, so I will not talk about him now. But back to topic. Even the jump scares themselves make them terrifying because, well, you never expect the jump scares to show up. And the most creepy jump scare out of all the four would have to be Freddy's after he gets done playing his music box as your power goes out. And all you can hear are his footsteps slowly approaching you as you stare into nothingness. With those little details in mind, they are what made this game truly terrifying and truly special. And the same can be said for the pizzeria as well. Sure, it's just a rip-off version of Chuck E. Cheese, but either in some strange way, Scott made an iconic place that even people to this day want to try and recreate. So, if you ever ask why these characters and these places are so basic, just know that the creator himself had nightmares of his own creation. Remember that. Now, on to the next. Now, this is part of the video that is interesting to me because, well, to most people, this game isn't considered a horror game. In fact, most people say it's more of a kid's game to be precise. However, they are mistaken. This game is a lot darker than what you think it is. You just have to know where to look. If you are new to Fnaf, you might want to take a seat for this. This place isn't just some pizzeria, and this place is a tragedy. Why do I say this? Well, if you look through the game long enough, then you would see that there's a lot of secrets that the game gives you that many seem to miss in their first run. But then again, you're checking your doors and cameras the entire time, so I don't blame you for that. With all this on mind, though, this game is a dark story to tell. You see, there were 5 kids that went missing and were killed at this place. The killer was caught, but the bodies were not found or recovered. Now, this is where everything goes dark real quickly. In one of the news clippings, it was said that there was a foul odor coming from the animatronics. Also, if you listened to the Fnaf 1 Night 4 phone call, then you would know where this is going. But if you haven't heard that phone call before, then I will play it here and I will leave it in the description below so you may hear it for yourselves. So, here it is.
Day 4, I knew you could do it. Hey, listen, I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you when I did. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you can check inside those suits in the back room. I'm going to try to hold out until someone checks, maybe it won't be so bad. Yeah, I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh no.
5 kids get murdered. The bodies cannot be found. The place is starting to smell. The place is shutting down at the end of the year. The robots only activate at night. They want to stuff you in a suit. You can probably see where I'm getting at here. The kids, they were stuffed inside the suits, and the worst part is, they will now possess the animatronics. In fact, we find out who the killer is, and also who everyone is in the series later down the line, and how it all connects. But we will save that tale for another time, as that is a wormhole that many still don't quite understand, including myself. However, that isn't the end of this dark tale, as there's even more of a dark story that inspired this game. You see, there was an incident that happened in real life in 1993. In Colorado at a Chuck E. Cheese, there was a shooting. 5 people were shot, and 4 of them died. The 5th person, however, survived, and he lived to tell the tale. The shooter was arrested and sentenced for life in jail. Now, a game inspired for a real-life event, that is scary to think about. I am not too sure that this is where Scott got the idea from, but this is Scott we are talking here, so I will presume that he had the story in mind. But with all this in mind, however, these little secrets and Easter eggs is what started the trend for Fnaf. I can admit there isn't much lore to go off in the first game, but it's what it did for the franchise and how it changed horror is what makes Fnaf 1 my favorite. So, whether you like the first or not, we can all agree that this game has a special place in our hearts for what it did at the time. So, that is all for me for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more content like this, then please like the video and consider subscribing for more content like this in the near future. Now, we'll see you all in the next one. Take care and stay safe.